When I was about 9, my mom, my little sister and I lived in a cramped old house in a quiet town. The street felt safe, kids rode bikes in the summer, neighbors waved, but the house itself always gave me the creeps. Mom called it old and said old houses creak and groan. That was supposed to explain everything. It didn't. The first strange thing happened one night when I couldn't fall asleep. I lay under my blanket, staring up at the glow-in-the-dark stars stuck to the ceiling. My room was tiny, just a bed, a dresser, and a toy chest under the window. Outside, tree branches shifted and threw moving shadows across my wall. I told myself the writhing shapes were only branches, but then I noticed a shadow that didn't move. It sat low in the corner by the toy chest. For a moment I thought it was a pile of clothes or one of my oversized stuffed animals. I almost laughed at myself for being a scared kid. I blinked, and the shadow was gone. A cold feeling ran through me, the kind that starts inside, not from the room's air. I pulled the blanket over my head and drifted off. The next morning I didn't even remember the shadow until I saw the toy chest. It was open, like someone had been rifling through it. My mom would have flipped if toys had been spilling out. I always shut it. I closed it silently and pretended not to notice. Weeks later my 5-year-old sister told Mom she didn't like the man in her closet. She said it like she was talking about the weather, and I froze. Mom brushed it off. Kids imagine things, but my sister's face said she wasn't pretending. She described him standing in the closet at night, whispering words she couldn't quite hear. Mom prayed with her that night but didn't check the closet. That same night I woke to a dragging sound across the wooden floor, like nails being dragged slowly along the planks. I was paralyzed with fear. The noise stopped right beside my bed. I was certain something would be looking up at me if I peered over the edge, so I clutched the blanket until I finally forced myself to sleep. In the morning there were long, fresh scratches carved into the floor beside my bed. I ran to show Mom, and she snapped at me, said I must have been playing with something sharp or had dragged the furniture. I swore I hadn't, but she didn't believe me. After that, nights spiraled into worse things. Faint whispers crept from my closet like a radio tuned low. The sound was always just out of focus. Sometimes I'd hear my sister crying in her room. When I ran in she'd be pointing at a corner and saying, "He's there. He's there." I never saw him myself, but I believed her. You know that prickling sensation when someone is watching you and every hair stands on end? That's exactly how it felt. The worst night was midwinter. I woke to find my bedroom door open even though I always shut it before sleep. The hallway light Mom left on for us was glowing faintly. Then, as I watched, it winked out. Maybe the bulb died, I thought. Then I heard footsteps from the hall. They stopped outside my door. I wanted to scream for Mom, but no sound came. The door creaked and a tall, dark shape leaned in, just its head into my room. I shut my eyes and pretended to sleep. When I opened them the door was shut and the room was empty. In the morning I asked Mom if she'd come in. She said no, she'd slept all night. My sister confessed she'd seen the man standing by her bed that same night. Together we told Mom, and for the first time she looked truly worried. She lit a candle and walked the house, whispering prayers in each room. For a while things quieted down. Then, one afternoon I came home early from school to an empty house. I was on the couch doing homework when the toy chest in my room slammed shut. Nobody else was home. I told myself it was the wind, but when I walked down the hallway my bedroom door stood wide open. The chest was closed, but every toy had been dumped across the floor, as if someone had quickly emptied it. I backed away and waited on the couch until Mom returned. She blamed the cat. Years later, after we moved out, I asked Mom if she'd ever seen anything in that house. She paused and then admitted she had sometimes woken to a shadow stationed in her doorway. She'd never told us because she didn't want to scare us, she said. She thought it was a man who once lived there. She never said more, but her voice carried the same cold I remembered. Even now, as an adult, thinking back makes my stomach turn. It wasn't a childish fancy. Something real lived in that house, and I'm certain it wanted us to know it was there. On some nights, when sleep won't come, I still hear, in my mind or through the floorboards, the slow, scraping sound of nails being dragged across wood.